Hi, Neal Brennan. This is the Blocks Podcast. I should have waited 10 seconds to start the intro, but I started. I'm still chewing gum. And my guest today, let me tell you about my guest today.
I'm still winded. That's what your guest is.
Well,
you didn't
we're
tell
both
me I was
still
on the
winded.
third floor and
It's
there's no
the
elevator,
third
but that's
floor.
okay. Let's just.
We've got.
He's so heavy. He breathes heavy. It's because there's three flights of stairs.
You're back in our day, we used to call it Husky. Right?
Husky. Okay.
Yes.
I'll go with that.
So I'm a little out of breath. My guest today is a lot out of breath. It's from the steps, but it could be from all of his accomplishments. Listen to me. He's been doing comedy since you were 15, 16?
I guess officially since I was technically 21.
Okay.
Or 20.
No, when were you on all that?
All that when I was 20, about 21, 22.
Okay. So around there. So I thought you were younger.
I look really young. I had braces and, I've always had this nice complexion and my chubby cheeks. And I always had those kid-like features.
You don't get, in the future, let other people compliment you?
Sorry.
And then you go, oh, is that true? But you were nice. You told me what to say. He's always had kid-like features, really nice complexion, nice smile, good energy. You've been popular, as far as I'm concerned, for 20 years. And I saw you do a show with Chappelle in 2004, and you fucking murdered that outdoor radio thing in the Bay Area.
The Wild 94 Comedy Jam, yeah.
Yes, you destroyed. It was the first time a friend of mine, Bajan, had seen a Spanish punchline for a Spanish audience. And it was like, he was like, what's happening? Because when you're speaking English and then you go into a Spanish punchline, it destroys.
White redneck?
I tell you what.
Mexican redneck?
¿Sabes qué, güey?
I've never done. I don't speak any Spanish except for babble. My point is Gabe Iglesias, everybody. Gabe Iglesias. He's got multiple Netflixes. The last one was in Dodger Stadium. 2 shows at Dodger Stadium. True?
Yes.
I feel like I've shut you down when I told you not compliment yourself.
I don't want to get yelled at, man.
No, I know. I yell at you. Gabe Iglesias, I was saying before we started rolling, when I saw Victor Wembanyama, the basketball player, 7'6", can shoot, can dribble, that's how I felt when I saw you do stand-up. I was like, wow, this guy can do voices.
You're going to get it. Stop doing that.
Incredibly lovable, can write jokes. You have so many gifts, so congrats. And how long have you been doing arenas? 10 years, 15 years?
The arena thing is coming up on 10.
Yeah. You going to do an anniversary or anything?
No. I'm just happy I'm still working.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah,
that's the spirit.
It's a daily celebration.
Do you feel that way? Are you one of those people who it's great, gratitude is easy?
Well, gratitude is easy because I know that I'm not supposed to be here according to everybody's, rules or whatever. So every day that I get to do it is
okay.
I am
When you
grateful for
say
it.
that, because I say as somebody who knows comedy pretty well, like when I saw you, I was like, oh man, this guy's got a lot of talent. What do other people say?
Well,
when you say that, because it speaks to how we all have this inner monologue of like, they never believed in me, and then you're like, yell at another show at Dodger Stadium, but the haters.
Well, I think you do. First of all, I think you do need haters. It's nice to have a different perspective. But every day I am very grateful because nowadays you never know what's tomorrow's not promised, and whether it's health or whether it's the career or whether it's woke culture, whether it's you never know. The aliens are showing up. You don't know what's going to happen in Rush. So every single day is very much a blessing, and I am grateful to still be doing
and it's
this.
easy to get to. You're not just saying that. That's not lip service. That's like really.
No, it's genuine. I mean, it's like, this is year 26 for me. And to be in show business for a year, much less 26, is not something that, it comes easy. So the gratitude and just being appreciative of everything that's happened is very real because, I'm not supposed to be here.
Who is supposed to be here?
Who is supposed to be here? In my eyes, everybody who is supposed to be here, I guess, is here. People who've had those.
No, but you're here also.
Yes, I am. But I guess because I've always been the Mexican kid from the rough neighborhood. My mom. It was just my mom, no dad in the picture. There was welfare, Section 8. We're dealing with all these other things, and so to be able to navigate through all of that and eventually get to a place where I could put myself in a position to follow a dream and pursue it enough to actually make it happen. That was, I feel like I had a lot more obstacles just to get to the starting line.
Just from like growing up the way you grew up.
Yes.
Are you only child or you got brothers and sisters?
Last of 6.
Oh, youngest of 6. Great.
Yeah.
I'm also youngest. Youngest apparently are
It's the best.
good at comedy,
It's the
like
best.
statistically. It is. Well, do you have the thing? I have a couple observations about the youngest. You can see how you're going to age, where you're like, oh, I got to pay attention to my my jawline or whatever because I've 10.
Well, my siblings had a different dad, so.
Oh, you don't have all right. I have this. Sorry.
So, yeah, I'm aging differently. I've seen how they look.
Okay, good.
Genetics.
Yeah. All right, good. And then, but you also, were they around?
You know what? They were already grown up and out of the house by the time I showed up. There's about a 14-year gap between my sister and myself.
So you're kind of an only child.
Kind of an only child. So yeah, they would just pop in and like look around and see that I had the room. And they're like, oh, look at you. You got your own room. I'm like, oh, yeah. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah.
But I guess they were all, sharing back
Well, you also want to say like, hey, I'm still very poor. I do have my own room where it's like older brothers and sisters are like, they think you have a great, and it's like, yeah, but there's still the same obstacles you had. Like how can you shit on me? But it's because they,
I guess it's that whole sibling. Well, I know that with them, they had it very different than I did, and they like to remind me that
was it worse for them?
Apparently, because they would say you had a different mom than we did.
Oh,
I'm like, well, sorry, and they're like, you got to stay home and go to school. We had to go to school in Mexico. I'm like, ooh, yeah, that sounds bad.
Why do they have to go to school in Mexico?
There's a whole long story behind that. But yeah, I got to go to public school, and they were shipped off to Mexico to go to school over there.
You're one of the few people who went to LA public schools and was like,
public schools, yeah. And I thought it was bad until, they started telling me, at least you didn't go to school in Mexico. I'm like, well, okay. Okay, and clearly there's still some bitterness there. But yeah, I was the favorite, Neal. I was.
You were the favorite.
I was the favorite child. I definitely was.
Well, you were always probably pretty charismatic, right?
Well,
or whatever, likable.
I think that I wasn't a dick. And so if my mom was to tell me something, I wouldn't question it. I would just do it. There was a couple of times, when I remember giving her attitude, and my mom would just kind of give me a certain look and kind of like give me the mama bear. I'm going to, pin you next to a tree and freaking beat your ass. And I never challenged her. I knew that she had it in her, and I just like, all right, I got in line.
Were
pretty
you
quick.
Catholic?
You know what's funny is that my mom, my siblings all went to Catholic school in Mexico, and my mom herself, I don't know what her actual faith was because, and this is crazy because every form of religion was represented in the house, but I was never taken to church. I was never taught anything from the Bible. So, for example, in the house, you'd see pictures of the Virgin Mary on the wall. You'd see crucifixes over the doorways. There'd be Ganesh figures in the house, Buddhas. My mom wore a Star of David around her neck, and she would light all kinds of different candles. And when you're a little kid and you see this, you don't see nothing wrong with it. You don't know to question it. And it wasn't until years later.
Now you know you got to pick one.
Well,
and you got to really fight everybody about it.
Yeah. So my mom never, she never, got me into church, and she never told me to pray. She never taught me how to, any of that. It was just be good, be nice to people, and they'll be nice to you.
How does she explain it?
I never asked the question about all the figures. I just thought there were cool little things around the house,
Yeah.
Like I had Transformers, and my mom had a Buddha and a Ganesh. It was like, that's her thing, and she had candles.
Ganesh makes it sound Jewish. I think it's Ganesh.
I apologize.
Ganesh, Ganesh sounds like something
like
delicious.
a dish. Yeah, it does.
She sounds like someone
she did have,
who would bet on both teams in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, cover the spread.
Yeah, just like, let's see how we can.
She was very much into a lot of things, but she never got me into any of them. And so that's why when, growing up, whenever I'd have friends, hey, you want to come with me to, come to our church or this or that? I'm like, wow, that's, I don't really do that. But sure, I've gone to several different types of churches to just see what it was like. But I was like, okay, no, I'm good.
This is a kind of a broad question. How did you, because I think the point of raising kids with religion is they get like a moral framework. How did you build a moral framework independent of church, religion, faith? I'm just curious because I don't know many people who didn't grow up with one.
The fact that my mom was very, very involved in my life, and I don't just mean like, oh, she was a mom and fed me and took me to school and said, take your vitamins and stuff like that. I mean, daily. I would spend a lot of time talking to my mom, and she would tell me stories about her growing up. And of course, the neighborhood we were in was not a pleasant one. There was always shootings. There was, the neighbor. The neighbor was always bullying me, and so it was one of those things where my mom had a like, well, this person's this way, this person's that way. You should be like this, and give me examples of people in the neighborhood who had good personalities, and you could tell they were just nice, genuine
Yeah.
people. But there was always that comparison: this person's nice, this person's not nice, and they were right in front of you because it was that kind of neighborhood.
Right.
So I think that's where I got a lot of the comparisons, and just my mom too. She was always very nice. She was kind to people.
Was Mom 1.0 the other mom before you came along? Was she nice?
Oh, whoever my mom was before I came into the picture, I don't know, because that's the mom that sent her kids to Mexico. But I don't know what the whole story is. I
Right.
don't know what, because I've never wanted to ask, because I feel like if you open a certain door, you got to prepare yourself for all the bullshit that comes with it.
Yeah.
And I like peace. I
Yeah.
really do. So I'd rather not, I'm okay not knowing, because that's before my time and it doesn't
Sure, it's none
affect
of your
me.
business.
That's
So
funny.
she's
Mom
still-
1.0. Yeah. it
She's
took me a
still
sec.
with you?
No, unfortunately, my mom passed away about 11 years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Because I was going to say, it sounds like I would be prying, but you've seen this podcast. I like to pry. So your disposition seems like you want to please people. And
Always.
Okay, your first block that you've sent in is managing expectations. Now, that seems contradictory to want to please people, because if you the people pleasers I know are like, there is no off switch, and then they end up being exhausted. What is your feeling about expectations? Like, you brought candy, or you brought boxes of something here just as like a nice, you like really want to please people. So I'm wondering, is the managing expectations that run up against that?
I always want to try my best to make sure that everybody's good. That's
Yeah.
always my thing. Are you good? Everybody good? Just, and unfortunately, like, the managing expectations part is because once I feel like I've done everything in my power to try to keep people happy or comfortable, once I feel like I am done and people still want more, that's when I find myself in this weird situation of like, okay, well, what was I supposed to do? How could I have handled that differently? Is it me, or is this person just greedy? Is
Yeah.
this person taking advantage? And so, unfortunately, I found a lot of situations where people were taking advantage, and they did expose my generosity and just the way that I am. And so that's why it's hard trying to figure out what it is, what it is that people want. I try to just automatically assume that if I'm a certain way, or if I try to just be welcoming and giving of my time, my energy, and my good energy, not like, oh, I had a fucked up weekend, but more so like, hey man,
Yeah.
how are you? And people are still not happy with that. That's when I find myself having to like figure out, all right, okay, so what do I got to do?
Did you used to go like way past your comfort?
Absolutely. And I would beat myself up like, why, what am I doing wrong? It was always, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
Not, is this person just a greedy prick? Not, is this person an asshole who just can't,
And it's funny, the more successful you get, it's not clearer.
No, it's actually, it gets blurrier and
Yeah.
blurrier. And someone asked me the other day, they said, success is all good. Having money is all good. Is there anything you miss from not having money? And I said, you know what I miss from not having money is I never had to question who my real friends were. There was never any doubt. I knew
Yeah.
exactly who my friends were. Whereas now it's like, you meet so many people because of what you get to do, and you're exposed to the planet. And it's really easy to meet people, but it's really hard to figure out what people's intentions are. What's their agenda? What do they want from you? And that's why I always try to let me just be welcoming and giving out the gate, so that hopefully I hit that mark before they ask for it.
I see this two ways, because I find myself in it, and I've seen other people go through it. I think that as comics, we tend to be self-centered, right? It's kind of necessary for the job. It just, or the disposition, or you just get used to the positive feedback, and you're kind of like, I can I get this kind of all the time, a little bit. So we're selfish and self-centered. And then if we bring other people into our lives, we it's all kind of still about us, our career and our like, I did this and I'm going to be here and you should come and whatever. So we're selfish. And then, they're not like they don't have a choice, but they get sucked into the life. They get sucked into your life a little bit. Like it becomes like Rock had the joke about like they're playing tambourine for you. You know what I mean? So we're selfish, and then they go, well, all you do is talk about yourself and your career anyway, so I might as well get something from it. And then we go like, all you care about is my career. And it's like, same to you. All you care about, or me and a lot of other people I know, it's like we are very career-centric and self-centered. So I can see both sides. How do you gauge your selfishness?
I've actually, and it's funny because a lot of times it's about what we do as entertainers, and then anytime I feel that I've tried to separate and make it about someone else and what they're doing and whatever else is going on in their lives, they're the ones that wind up bringing it back to me. So it's like, no, let's go into let me focus on your world and let's talk and for some reason it just winds up coming back to me
because they probably get insecure.
And so then I'm like, okay, so what's going on?
Yeah.
Like I had a conversation with my brother yesterday, and I haven't spoken to him in over 11 years. So it's kind of funny that I'm here today talking about it. And the entire conversation, never once did I bring up my career, what I'm doing, and all he kept talking about was my career, what I'm doing, and when you and your cars and this and this and that and blah blah blah. And I'm like, dude, I didn't talk about, why are you bringing this up? I haven't spoken to you in 11 years. Can we catch up? How are you? What's going on with you?
It's hard because everywhere he goes,
he spun it immediately back to me. And I'm just like, so even if I try, I find myself,
That's hard. But I will say, it's interesting. Your life's interesting. You know what I mean? And a lot of places your brother or family goes, you come up. So when they see you, they kind of, there's that thing of like, when they see you, they resent you because everywhere they go, you come up. And then they're also like proud and maybe envious. And there's just a lot of emotions that come up. When it's in managing expectations, are you direct about it? Or are you more like, hey,
it's hard to be direct because anytime you're direct, you hurt feelings. You make people feel uncomfortable, and then they start going, "Oh, well, okay, well, I guess it's like that." It's like, come on, really? You can't just have a conversation. You can't. Can we at least talk about the fact that this is getting a little weird versus you just, being defensive and coming at me? So that is very challenging, and it's hard to be direct. Definitely, if I'm drinking, I'm very direct. But for the most part, I'd rather not deal with problems when I'm having a couple drinks. I try being as nice and as subtle, hoping that they get the hint. And sometimes people are just they're stuck in their ways, and you have to eventually all right, dude, here, and then you got to hit them with it and hopefully they get it and they respond to it in a positive way, seeing that you've already made all these different efforts to try to communicate your point across to them. But sometimes they don't. And then that's when you got to deal with, well, I'm out. Well, okay, well, then that's how it is. And then you get ghosted for however long. And then maybe they eventually go, well, can we talk? And then hopefully you can find
you have to, the older you get, the more you cycle through, like, you're going to have feelings. That's going to take a few months. Then you'll come back. We'll be better. We won't have the same problem. We may have a new problem. Then we'll have to deal with that.
I try my best to ask questions to the people that are around me. I always, hey man, how you doing? What's going on in your life? And I listen to people's, the good that's going on and the bad that's going on, and I try to anticipate a potential conversation or something that might come down the pike. And so I'm usually pretty like, hey man, you're dealing with some stuff. Why don't you take a day off? Especially the people that work for me, or hey man, here's some gift certificate. Why don't you take the wife to a movie or some this or that? So I listen and I try to get ahead of it.
You do that AMC movie thing where you see as many movies as you can for 30
I've never done that one, but it sounds really cool. I would have loved that.
Are you able to like keep employees for a long time?
You know what? I have two employees that were my best friends in high school, and they're still there.
Great.
They're still there, and above all, the loyalty is just incredible. There's something to be said for that.
Yeah.
Because I've had
Because
other
they're
people.
not good at their jobs.
I'm not gonna say
They're
that they're
really
not
bad.
good. I'm not
I
gonna
mean,
say that they're
they
not
are
good. They take a
really,
lot of pride, but I
really
have
bad.
had other people work for me that would complain and say, "Oh, they should be doing this, doing this, doing this, doing this." But you know what? Those people are no longer here.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
what wins?
Well, that is the interesting thing of like loyalty. It's like you can
in
kind
this
of
business.
figure it
It's
out. Yeah.
huge. It's huge.
And you can also
who's not gonna stab you in the back?
right.
Who's
Yeah.
not gonna steal from you? Who's not gonna take advantage of certain things?
Yeah.
So I'm very lucky that I still have friends that were my friends before comedy, friends that were my friends before I had anything, the friends that were with me when I was broke.
Yeah.
So I cherish them very much, and
That's great. And are there any friends that you left that you could go back and get? Be like, come be my driver. Or something?
I think that there's people that have entered our lives and been removed from our lives for whatever reason, and sometimes there's an opportunity to go back and find a place if they want to be involved. But a lot of times I feel like anytime someone exits your life, it's probably for something that's not good. And
I have a question, which is based on what we're talking about, because your second block is losing relationships. Are you ever wrong?
Absolutely.
And do you
I'll be
tell
the
the
first
people?
to admit it. I'm the first to admit whenever I'm wrong.
How long does it take?
Well, it takes as long as it takes me to figure out. Ooh, okay.
But could it be like years later?
It can be years
Yeah.
later. Absolutely.
And you call the people and be like, I was dead wrong. And
Yeah. Oh no, there's some stuff that went down 11 years ago with my mom and the siblings and stuff that I feel like I could have done better in hindsight. But at the time, I was very passionate, emotional, and at the same time, I'm trying to juggle this career. And so, yeah, the decisions I made back then probably weren't the best. And it did take me some time to come to grips with the fact that, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done or said that. And so, yeah, I'll be the first to say
did they
that.
accept your apology?
It's weird because I think that for me, if I'm gonna, bare the soul and apologize and let you know that, hey, everything you said was absolutely right. I should have done this. I should have done this. I should have done this. I'm terribly sorry. Man, if we can hang out again, I would make it a mission to never put myself or us in this situation again. If I bare my soul and I apologize,
We're never
and
going to
they-
have another
and
mom
they-
that dies.
and they, well,
you
you know what?
have my word.
Stop it. And if they accept, but then they continue to beat me up,
Yeah.
then it's like,
yeah.
you know
yeah.
what? Eat a
Yeah.
dick.
Yeah.
Eat a dick. I just told you you're right, and you still want to kick me.
It's hard though, dude.
So it's like,
you ever hear whatever the term sore winner. Some people are sore winners.
Ah.
I can be a sore winner sometimes, where it's like I had a girlfriend one time where I go, this is a 3 apology infraction. I'm going to need an apology today, and then another one toward the end of the week, and then another one next month.
There's more.
Because it's my own pettiness, but that's good that you apologize.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, once a person accepts, you already hugged it out, and they still
You can't go back.
and then they still want to, and you know what? And if they still continue to,
Yeah.
then it's like, why are we even sitting down? Why are we talking? Why did I take the time to agree with all your points and say you're right, you're right, you're right, you're right, you're right?
How's information travel in your family?
Oh,
Meaning
God.
just gossip?
It's a family. Yeah, we're Mexican, dude. We that's our thing. Gossip, chisme. We love to gossip. We love good chisme. Chisme is gossip. And so, if somebody does something to the family, word gets. There's one aunt, one sister. Boom, they start.
I think that's most families
Uh,
because there's no healthy. It's all power.
oh, and by the way, it's super toxic. Super toxic. Oh,
the whole family or just that portion of it?
well, there's a lot of shit stirs in the family.
Yeah. Oh.
And
Yeah.
no one's really trying. How can we put this together? How can we make this work? It's usually the younger generation in the family. The older ones, they're just stuck in their ways, and they're just gonna freaking come out swinging daily.
The niece and
Doesn't
nephews
matter.
are the future. I mean, like that just happened in my family. They all went to Ireland. I didn't go, and my brothers and sisters were sparring like I knew they would, but my nieces and nephews had like the best time because they've kind of been kept from each other because of the parent relationships, and then they're all together and like they're all fucking insane. Let's us have fun.
Well, in the younger generation too, they were the ones that were told to shut up and listen, pay attention, and that's what they did. And they've had the time to watch all the drama between all the older siblings and aunts and uncles, so they can already put together. They're all messed up.
Yeah. That's
And so-
exactly what happened in my family.
Yeah.
See, whites and Mexicans, we're not so different after all.
Yeah.
Just so we're all kinds of fucked up.
Take down the wall. Take down the wall.
Hey, now you're being crazy.
The emotional wall.
Now you-
Come on. Hey.
Okay, and what have you done in terms of losing relationships? Are you philosophical about it? What do you think of your mom, your dad? Like, what do you think of, like, I know your mom passed. What do you make of it? What do you make of like life, death, the big questions?
Well, the relationships that are no longer here because of death or because of bad
Either one.
choices.
Either one.
I mean, you can't help the death one. Death is inevitable. It's going to happen to all of us. So it's kind of one of those.
I have an anti-aging doctor. I'll hook you up.
Nice. Little
Yeah,
stem
yeah.
cells.
Yeah.
Okay. Down the street. I've had a few deaths in the family, or just deaths in general that affected me. Clearly, my mom was one of them, and it's in the beginning is when it's the hardest, but you got to find ways to cope and get through it. I talk about my mom a lot in my shows, and I feel like that's helped me out a lot because it's my way of just constantly still talking about her and keeping her memory in my mind and stuff. And I always like to highlight the good that she did in my shows. I'll point out a couple fucked up things too, but for me, that's how I've managed to deal. I've never had I didn't get a chance to go to the funeral. That was part of the big fight.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
no.
People didn't like that?
Well,
What's the matter? You were doing a show, people didn't care for that? That
No.
sounds like something a family could really rally behind.
My excuse for not going to the funeral was because I was very much upset with my brother, and I felt like me showing up was gonna not be productive. It wasn't going to be helpful. It was going to be very loud. It was going to be passionate. It was going to be dramatic. It could potentially have gotten violent because of the level of just frustration and just like bitterness that was going on at that time. So that's one of those things that I'm still dealing with, and I'll have to live with for the rest of my life. But dealing with relationships that are no longer around, as far as like things went south, I always question, all right, well, what led to that? And that usually helps me process and helps get me through. Am I in a better place now because this person is no longer in my life? Yes or no? And if I feel like my life is worse off, then what did I do wrong? How can I fix or change the whatever it was that made this person leave? I'm very self-aware that, if I'm the problem, then, I get it. Sorry, I didn't,
Do you ever go like, I'm the problem and I can't change?
That was an easy cop-out back in the day. That was definitely something I would say.
Gabe, it can be an easy cop-out today. Gabe, listen to me. You could still use it.
I think it also depends on how much value you have for the person.
For the other person?
For the other person,
Yeah.
yeah. That's when you're willing to, all right, look, I get that certain things that I do might not be beneficial to the keeping this relationship where it should be, and then you have to do the math. All right, what's going to make you happier? Whatever it is that you're doing that bothers this person, or letting go of whatever it is that bothers them in order to maintain this. And that was a tough one. That was a tough one because there's you always want someone that's just going to accept you for you. But then at the same time, you put yourself in their shoes, and you're like, yeah, all right, maybe I'm a little selfish right now.
Right. But
maybe I could just quit that.
Did you change, and were you kind of like a little kid cleaning his room? Like, ugh, all right, fine, I'll be on time, or whatever the problem was?
The problem is that the damage was already done. So once I was in a position where I says, you know what, let me make this change. It was a little too late.
Got it.
And
what was her name? Kidding.
No, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I do feel grateful that that person is still in my life, not in the same way,
Mm-hmm.
but
I think we're all
we've
focusing
we're
who this
we're
probably is.
yeah, fortunately we're both a little bit more grown, a little bit more mature, and can look back and go, okay, it was fun when it was fun. It wasn't fun when it wasn't fun. And moving forward, can we at least be friends and civil? And I feel very, happy that it's a little bit more than that. It's not what it was, but
What is?
yeah. I know
Um,
we're having this cryptic conversation.
no,
Well,
I know. Yeah.
uh, hmm.
Yeah. Uh,
But it is change is always hard. No matter who you are, change is always hard. And admitting that is probably the first part. And then what are you gonna do about it is like, all right.
okay. Here's a question. I've went to listen to you talk. And are there people, if they heard this podcast, would be rolling their eyes?
No, because I think that I've been very honest
Okay, you have
about
been.
everything. And especially the me admitting that I can be wrong. Me saying that I can be wrong. I can be, because I'll look at things logically. I'll be passionate in the beginning, but then I gotta take a step back and go, all right, okay, that doesn't make all right, I was just loud. So if somebody's gonna roll their eyes, then yeah, I'd have to question, like, did you even hear what I said?
Whether your New Year's resolution is to save money, eat better, or stress less, HelloFresh is here to help you do all three. Say hello to your most delicious year yet with fresh ingredients and chef-crafted recipes at a price you like, delivered right to your door. Each HelloFresh box is packed with farm-fresh ingredients, and everything arrives pre-portioned right to your doorstep for less hassle and less wasted food. I did it, guys. I did HelloFresh, and they have a lot of tofu things. I like tofu. They have a lot of chickpea things. I like chickpeas. They had mushroom. They had great food, and they had stuff that actually I wanted. A lot of times vegan food is like punishment, not punishment. Not a great slogan, but it's not punishment. Go to HelloFresh.com/NealFree, NealFree, and use code NealFree, NealFree, for free breakfast for life. One breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/NealFree and enter code NealFree. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Simple Pleasures is a block for you. Is that a good block or a bad block?
It's a good block. I find that, every now and then I'll get a wild hair up my butt and I'll go buy a stupid car that I don't need. And I'm happy the day of and I'll drive it around and it's great. But then the next day it's like, okay, no, all right. Whereas having a good conversation and laughing with a friend, or even meeting someone new and just be like, oh, wow, I met somebody, like I was getting a coffee and I had this good conversation. We're talking about the game and having a nice, pure moment has nothing to do with my career. These just little tiny little nuggets. If I'm at the ATM or something, and someone's being really cool, or just like, oh man, look at that. You see somebody doing something nice. I saw this guy bring food to a homeless guy at Chipotle. He was outside, and here you go, buddy, I got this for you. I'm like, how cool is that, man? Look at that. They're still humans. There's still people that give a shit and have hearts and are kind. I go, that was really nice. That guy did that, and I got to see that. I got to see a pure, simple moment that cost me nothing. So
I just got to see
moments.
a pure, simple moment where you pronounce Chipotle appropriately, which I only hear white people say it. So it was exciting. When you say it one more
Chipotle. Well, I could say it any different way. I could say
No.
Chipotle or Chipotle.
Yeah, no, it's
I could put a
pretty
little Antonio Banderas on it. Chipotle.
It's pretty exciting as a white person to hear it said with all the flair. So it's
little moments that bring a smile to you. That like, wow.
Do you still buy the car and all that dumb shit?
I will. I do.
Yeah.
I'll show you in the parking lot if you come outside.
No, thanks. I'm kidding.
It's cool.
I live here. And is that a real thing? Or is that you being a rich guy going like, the human touch is a thing I miss that I don't get to feel anymore. And now when I share a small moment, or is it just like you always liked people and you always liked small moments with people?
I've always liked small moments with people and being able to just engage and be cool.
Yeah.
No one wants to argue. No one wants to, at least I don't. I don't want to detach myself from everyone. I always try to, you know, be close and around people, but sometimes you need to back up. So I do miss having moments with people and just simplicity. I
Yeah.
love simplicity. When I have my dogs with me, dude, it's just like, my dogs don't give a shit what I do. They just want to come up and they just want to look at me, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
"Aw."
Yeah.
Like a little simple moment, simple pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
it's not a rich guy saying that. That's the
Yeah.
guy that just, hey man, I like my dogs. If I see somebody walking their dogs, like, oh, just a moment like that where it can be like, oh, what kind is it? I ask questions if I'm at a PetSmart or something, and so animals definitely bring
Do
me
you
a
have
lot
a
of.
kid?
I have a son.
And how old's the son?
He's gonna be 26 this year,
Oh, wow. So he's like an adult.
according to the law. He's my
Feels
kid.
loaded to me.
He's my kid. He's my kid.
And do you,
I love
did you have
him.
a bit about him? You did, right?
I've had tons of bits
Okay.
about him over the years, and I told him the reason why I talk about you is because you don't listen. So
Yeah.
this is the only way that I could get my point across. 'Cause
Does
then
it get the point across?
Well, he wears deodorant now, so yeah.
Oh,
I
that's
guess
that's
because that was
really
one
funny.
of the things I used to vent about was that he would never wear deodorant
That's really funny.
because when you get 12, 13, 14, that's when you start all of a sudden having these aromas coming out of you.
Yep. Yeah, they come out hard. It's also like a note, like a scent that it's so distinct from like a 14-year-old. Like your BO when you're that age, it's just like atrocious. And must be, well, I guess he's an adult, but was him raising him, like, was that a lot of moments of that? Like small moments.
My whole thing with him was, I wanted to make sure that I always reminded him, hey, look, I'm out here working. And when I work, it makes it so that there's a roof over your head, food in your belly, and things for you to play with.
Mhm.
I was always telling him, look, I never yell at you. I don't hit you. And that, I don't know why I always made that a point to say to him, hey, look, I never hit you. I never
Hey,
yell at you,
right.
right? So can you just please do certain, that was always the way I'd start the conversation. Can you please do that?
Look, we all know I don't hit
can
you.
Can you please do?
Were
and I still tell him that. Don't forget, I never hit you.
Were you smacked a lot as a kid?
It's not that I was smacked a lot, but I did see a lot of people get hit by their parents.
Yeah.
I grew up we grew up during that time where, hey man, you got to keep your kids in check.
Yeah.
There was no timeout.
No.
No, that was, it was like, all right.
Yeah. And do you think there's something to that way to raise kids?
You can go either way with that
Yeah,
one.
I'm
Because
with you.
some people will say definitely, but then there's some people that will abuse that. I saw both growing up. I saw some people that it kept their kids in line, and they're better people because of it. It reminded them it reset them. Hey, you got to be a certain way. Be respectful, be kind, be this, be that. But then there's others that, unfortunately, the parents went a little overboard, and now those people are messed up. So there's that fine line.
Did
of
you know anyone
discipline.
whose parents did bits about them?
No.
How does
No.
that?
So me talking about my son was my way of, and I used to say it too. I was like, I says, I don't hit him. I don't yell at him. I go, but I will embarrass him. And then my son goes, Dad, that's called shaming. I go, hey, you know what? It was a different time.
Yeah,
All right?
it's a long time ago.
It was
We're talking 12 years ago.
It
We
was,
didn't know.
it was a different time.
We had no shame back then.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But now you can't shame nobody because it's like, oh, see
Yeah,
how you
it's like,
are.
so how are we going to learn? That's what I don't understand. It's like, how do you learn? Shaming, physical violence isn't the best, but it's like not, it kind of works in China, for instance, and shaming, how do you, a lot of these things take a level of emotional equanimity, you know what I mean? Like emotional smoothness on the part of the parent and time. And people don't got time, and they're hopped up.
Yeah, nowadays everybody you need to talk to them. Well, no, clearly talking didn't work, and this is why we've gone to level B and then C. But you can't do that now.
You got to stay at A.
You
And
got to
just
stay
fail.
at A, and then just watch the kids walk all over the parents, so that when you're at the store and you see the kids acting up, that didn't happen back then.
No.
The acting up did happen for a minute, and then all of a sudden, it didn't happen because they were put in their place.
Yeah, and the kid didn't talk for a year and a half.
Yeah.
But the point was made The point was made.
Very different now. Very different now.
Um,
But yeah, my son's 26, and I still from time to time we'll talk about him
Yeah.
in my shows. But I try not to be, I'm not beating him up about it. But every now and then I share a story.
Yeah, why not? One of your final block is the past, meaning.
Meaning, well, like we said earlier, when I was talking about how there's certain things in the past that still haunt me. The thing with my mom is definitely a big one.
Should you have gone to the
Sometimes,
funeral?
in hindsight, yes. Do I think I would have done something stupid? Absolutely. And would I be paying for that now? Probably. So, it's kind of one of those like, I miss all
Could you
the
have sat in the
years.
balcony? You know what I mean? Is there a way you could have
You always play those
adult
scenarios.
leash,
An adult leash,
a
right?
leash on you? Is there anything that could have prevented it? You getting crazy?
You know what? I thought about like who could I have had with me to have kept me in check or kept me from doing something dumb, and no one could. There was no leash that could have kept me from acting out. I feel like there's no question I would have acted out.
Would you today?
No, absolutely,
You're just more mature.
absolutely not. Yes,
You could go to who you are today. Could go to the
Yes.
funeral and would know to control yourself.
yes, absolutely.
What's the difference?
The difference is now I understand the bigger picture, whereas back then I made it about me. I made it about my feelings and what was going on with me versus looking at the overall. Like, this was my mom. I should have been there, regardless of how I felt about my siblings or what feuds were going on or the level of rage or frustration that I was dealing with. Today I would make it about, I would remove myself from it and make it about the greater moment versus.
Are you skinnier than you were, right?
Yes, my heaviest, I was 437 pounds. There was a point in time where people kept saying, "Oh man, I tell my friends all the time. I say I can't believe I took a picture with Ralphie May." I'm like, "Oh my god!" There was a point in time where Ralphie and I were right there, man, and I'm like, "Oh god."
That's
Hey,
very
I had a few times where people called me Ralphie May, and I'm just like, "All right."
Well,
all
when
right,
he
Ralph-
died, were
Ralph-
you like, okay,
At
I
that
should-
at that point, we were already hundreds of pounds apart.
Got
Hundreds
it.
of pounds apart.
Got it.
And like I said, my heaviest was
you were up to
was
600?
four.
Kidding.
I got 437 was the heaviest. Now I'm probably around 350.
Is that where do you have a goal with that, or are you like, I'm good?
I've been this weight for a few years now. I mean, I rock a monitor for my diabetes, so I keep my sugar in check.
Great.
I see the doctor all the time. Doesn't mean that I'm healthy, but I'm a lot more at least aware. And I take my meds, and I'm constantly getting checkups. Could I work out more? Absolutely. Could I eat better? Of course I could. I make no excuses.
How do you think of it? Do you just think of like, it's my life, it's my body, I want to just like,
I just don't want to work out. It's simple. I don't want to sweat and go and lift shit. I'm comfortable in this room with air conditioning and the recliner I just bought. It's nice.
what's funny is most people are like you.
America.
Yeah. That's most people's attitude. And do you feel like if your life's shorter, fuck it?
It's hard to say it.
'Cause
out
I'm
loud.
like-
it's
I'm-
hard to say it out loud, but I think that a lot of people think that. Like, I don't want to say it out loud, but a part of me is kind of like, eh. It's like I don't want to start working out, and all of a sudden Russia gets pissed off.
I like how
Like,
you keep
why
bringing
did I go to the gym?
bringing Russia into it. Like, I could work out, but
Russia, man. The aliens showed up.
Yeah,
I don't know.
aliens are coming.
yeah,
I keep
it's
hearing. I don't want to waste
freaking
my time.
COVID-32, man.
Yeah.
You gotta enjoy life.
Yeah. Well, no, but I'm curious because I'm like very health conscious, vegan, et cetera. So don't really drink, don't smoke, whatever. Of course, because of comedy, I'll die way before you, just because that's how life's funny like that. But I feel like I wish I had a little more attitude of like, fuck it. It's fun. Like, life's fun and it should be fun. And like, if it means I'm not the right weight or the right glycemic level, what are you gonna do?
I'm trying to still have fun, even though I feel like every year that I get older, I'm starting to do things. Maybe I shouldn't do that. You know what? I don't need to go to that party. It's late. There was a shooting last time. Let me just stay. So like, I'm starting to make decisions like that.
The
where I
Russians
won't-
got there and were shooting everybody.
Yeah, they
Go
were
ahead.
blasting everybody, dude. Fucking Putin. So I'm starting to like change in that way. So I see eventually I'm gonna get to that. Let me just walk into Whole Foods real quick and see what this is all about. I don't doubt that I'm gonna get to that place, but right now I'm still like,
And you haven't had any like scare, like you haven't had like a thing that made you go, I need to change.
I've had a bunch of scares. When I was
and
at my
you
heaviest,
drove right past them.
you know what? I unfortunately I was that person who was smoking a cigarette, and the doctor told him if you don't stop, you're gonna get lung cancer and die. And I was that stubborn person, and I'm like, well, that's my life.
Was it literally cigarettes or it was food?
No.
in it?
I never smoked cigarettes.
Oh,
That was never
got
my
it.
thing. It was, of course, it's food. But going to the
Duh.
doctor and dealing with anxiety, depression, freaking diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure. So
You take a lot of shit. I take cholesterol because it's
yeah,
naturally
I take
yeah.
like losartan, and I take a couple of different things to regulate my sugar. But again, I'm a different weight, and I'm dealing with things differently. Whereas before, I wasn't taking any medication.
Got
There
it.
was none. There was
Were
no.
you supposed to be
there-
and you weren't taking it? Or you were just-
Probably. I didn't want to, like when the doctor told me you're diabetic, I'm like, I figured. I wasn't even like concerned. There was not like not me. I'm wondering, okay, well, that explains the blurry vision. That explains why I get
You
sleepy.
had the blurry vision
Oh,
because
yeah.
I had friends that had the blurry vision, and
Yeah.
it was like, dude,
That's scary.
I'm sure, like
That'll freak you
you
out.
get like blind for a sec, right?
You look at the TV and then you'll hit guide to see what show you want to watch, and then you're like, whoa, and it's fuzzy. And so I realized that like I would go a week without eating bread or pasta or candy, and like I would notice a difference in my vision.
You can see the
'Cause
guide very
My
clear.
sugar,
That's really funny.
my sugar would come back down, and it would level off, and yeah, my vision would get better. So I could tell.
And you got to catch up on your Law and Order episodes
Probably.
because you knew when
Yeah.
it was coming on.
Uh,
Yeah, man.
So when the doctor told me the first time that my health was out of control, I didn't take it serious because I was younger, and I figured I'm good. I'll deal with it later.
and you also have like, it's kind of my brand. Oh, I got the
I
art
was afraid
made.
of that in the beginning.
I got the art made.
I was afraid of that in the beginning, but I think now at this point, if I was to lose, if I was only 180 pounds and I was
fluffy.
thin, I'd be okay. It's like
It's
big, it's
also
like big boy. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's like the personality's already there, no
Yeah.
matter what. If he's 600 pounds or 200 pounds, he's still big boy.
Yeah, energetically, you're fluffy.
Yeah. And another thing about the past, not just like a situation with mom or things that like I've had the past come back to me. Like I recently in the last year reunited with my dad, who I haven't seen in 15 years. And before
What was that like?
you know what? I feel like this version of me was able to handle it. I was very respectful. I was able to make it a productive reunion versus the person that I probably was 15 years
And
ago.
you had monologues written back then of the ways he
Oh,
fucked
yeah,
you, and
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
yeah, yeah.
you shoulda, and
And-
where were you, and all that.
What's crazy is that my father himself was an entertainer. He was a singer and he was touring. And so it was interesting to talk to him knowing that that was his career and having that understanding of like, well, shoot, maybe it was my mom. It's like maybe
That's
she
really
was the
funny.
one. So it's kind
Yeah,
of like
that is a funny. That's a funny point
maybe she
in
was
life
the
where
crazy
you're
one
like,
who wouldn't let it go. Like she was the one
Yeah.
stalking him at the shows because I've had those situations where it's like, yeah, no, I don't feel the same way. Oh.
well, yeah, it's like you have to like each other the same amount, or it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you entirely sympathetic to your dad, or you're just more open to the idea that
I'm
it may
more
be?
open to the idea. Plus, he's 80 years old now, and you could tell, like with him, the way he would look at me, like there's so much, just like you could see a lot of regret in his eyes, a lot of just, God, I wish I could have done things differently. It's not like I've heard of situations where people meet their parents or whatever that they didn't get a chance to have a relationship with, and they're just kind of like whatever. Like you could see the pain in this man's eyes, and like when I give him a hug, it's just like he wanted to dissolve in my arms because he's just like, oh my God, like he's, there's
No,
so
it's
much
funny because
there.
at 15 years ago,
I don't
you
think that
would've-
I could have done that.
right? And you would have been the dissolver. You would have been the one who's
No.
like, you were just
No,
mad.
I would have been pissed. I would have
Okay.
I would have still had that chip on my shoulder. But again, there's two sides to every story. And now knowing the lifestyle and just what it's like, what the expectations from people are, and who knows what his life was back then. It's not like he had two families or anything. Not that I know of anyway. But I don't know.
Also, singer last name Iglesias.
Plus, I think
and
my
not
mom,
being
my mom also
Julio.
wanted him to stop being on the road and performing. She wanted him to get like a regular job and be home, kind of a thing.
Were
'Cause
they like together?
well, we never had like three of us in the house for more than like maybe a couple weekends out of the year. So
Yeah.
it was like I don't know him every day. Him taking me to school, like no, it was just he would. Oh, he's here. Okay, he's got to go.
Was he like a hero, or it was just like some guy?
You know what? My brother was more my hero than anything because he was the one that was there on the regular, not my dad. So it was like, all right. And I never missed him because, like, how do you miss someone that's, you can't miss something that you never had.
And you're so in a weird way, it's almost like you're parenting him a little bit for his, like he's the one who's emotionally fucked up about it. You're like, nah, it's okay, buddy.
So when I did talk to him, what was important to me was to just let him know that I didn't hate him.
How did the meeting come about?
The meeting came about because I had a cousin in Mexico who reached out to me, and she's like, "Hey, I'm your cousin, this and this and that." And I'm like, what do you want?
Yeah, how much?
How
Yeah.
much? And it turns out that cousin's a doctor, and she's like, "I don't want anything from you. I just want to let you know
I have cholesterol medication for you to take.
nice, free." I heard.
Very cheap.
I heard. So she tells me that she's hangs out with my dad regularly, and that I come up in conversation, and she's like, his birthday's coming up. Do you want me to send him a message for you or anything? She was just reaching out.
Yeah.
And I said, well, tell him I said hi. Hope he's well. I figured there's no harm in that. I'm not saying, hey, let's hang out, let's do this, let's do that. But when he got the message that I said hello and I wished him well, all of a sudden that sparked something there to want to have hey, can we, and then I found out I have two sisters that I had never met. And so there was a thing
So
where,
young is that included in the 6 or you're?
no, there's in addition to, so like
Great.
younger sisters. And
Okay,
it's funny
great.
because I'm the youngest of 6,
Yeah.
but I'm the oldest of 3 on his
Yeah.
side. Funny thing, I got my first ever show in Mexico.
First of all, congratulations.
Yeah, I got my first ever show in Mexico. And so I thought that was a great time
What are you
to-
doing?
I was in Mexico City performing.
Were you doing an arena? What kind of venue?
It was a big theater. It wasn't an arena.
I'm not saying it like, hey,
no.
how big?
No,
I'm just wondering.
it was
in
a
English,
theater.
Spanish.
English.
Great.
English. I speak Spanish, but performing in Spanish is way different.
Yeah.
And
You got to wear sequins, right?
I think
you have to wear a lot of sequins.
A lot of sequins.
like feathers.
I ain't about it. The original idea for us to hook up to talk was I wanted to actually invite him to the Dodger Stadium taping. I thought, hey, man,
Have him parachute in. That was the plan.
yeah, right. No, I thought that, hey, look, your kid turned out okay. Not
Yeah.
only did it turn out okay, I thought that would be a part of me was like, it was too much of a spectacle. Maybe that's not the best way to come back in. Like, hey,
Yeah. And also talk about jumping the shark.
yeah,
It's like how do you just go get something to eat after that?
yeah. It's hard. We'll
Where should I
we'll go to Pink's.
meet you at
Let's just go to
Staples?
Pink's.
No, we're just gonna go to a restaurant. We're going to Cheesecake Factory, Dad.
So we hooked up in Mexico, and I got to meet my sisters. We did a whole dinner. It was really, really nice. It was great conversations with everybody, and we all just kept looking at each other because it's like, the features that my father and I, like as a kid, you can kind of see it, but as adults, man, the eyebrows are this bushy, the same type of eyes, the cheeks that you can't
Is
see.
he
'Cause
funny?
He's very, very charismatic.
Yeah.
He's very charismatic. He's witty. He's super
Yeah.
witty, and he can engage with the whole table. He's got a real nice presence about
Yeah.
him, and so I can see why my mom, aside from you look at his old pictures, man, the guy's a good looking dude.
So you understand why she's loving him.
I was like, hey, man,
No heart.
my mom told me one time about how she's, as soon as I saw your father, I knew he could hang his pants on my nightstand. I remember she said. In Spanish, it sounds cooler. In English, it just sounds
Still
weird.
sounds pretty. Well, it's kind of gross, but like, but I like it from a mom. You're like, all right. That and do you feel wholer from having your dad around? Did it feel like
It did feel like
had you healed it before you got in touch with him? Do you know what I mean?
I was good. I'm like, look, it's easy to say woulda, shoulda, coulda, but man, I turned out okay. Not only did I turn out okay, I'm doing very well, and I don't feel like I'm a fucked up person for not having you in my life. I was not like an abusive partner. I wasn't mean to children. I wasn't like there was nothing about his absence.
Didn't hit his son.
Didn't hit my son. There was nothing about him not being in my life that caused me issues other than the fact that people kept reminding me I didn't grow up with a dad. That was what bothered me the most as a kid, you know? Where's your dad? Where's your dad? Where's your dad? And I'm like, I don't have one. I don't have, oh, he doesn't have a dad. So you're always being made fun of that, and I'm like, oh shit, They're the ones that paint it as something bad, but you don't know it's something bad unless somebody points it out. I was fine, Same thing with religion. I didn't realize that I was, "Oh, what? You don't go to church?
Yeah.
Oh my God, And so for me, I'm doing something bad. I'm supposed to go to church. Everybody says I'm supposed to go to church. So then when I bring it up to my mom's like, no, you just need to be a good person. Be nice to people. And that's all you got to worry about.
Yeah, but I need a team, Mom.
Yeah. So by the time I got to my dad and my sisters,
well, how did you get all that sort of growth? Because that's one of the big questions on the podcast is like, what have you done that got you? Is it just time? Because I think time's a big one.
Time is definitely a big one. And I think too, like,
or insights that you've gotten.
When I went through my breakup with my girl, I stopped drinking for 2 years, and in those 2 years, I decided to go to therapy. I didn't want to because I'm like, ugh, every movie I've seen, it's just really? And then also too, I'm like, how do I know this person's not gonna start running their mouth and like, man, I'm in a position now where I don't need a TMZ moment. I don't need to be putting stuff out there. And I tried it. I actually tried couples therapy first when we were at the tail end of our relationship, and unfortunately, it didn't fly. But
couldn't resuscitate the body.
Nope. But there was an office right next door to the couples therapist. It was just a therapist, and I gave it a shot. And
this first 6 months, you just gave fake problems though, in case to test if it was going to go to TMZ. You would just go like, "I was molested," just to see, and then you'd be like,
the first few times it was really hard for me to open up about anything. It was more so about how much I don't trust the person. I was like, I'm here. I think I need help, but I don't know if you're the one to help me, and I don't know how much I can tell you. And I'm like, this is uncomfortable, and it was all about how uncomfortable I was. Those first few times, and then little by little,
Here's a question: Latina therapist?
Nope, white lady. Yep.
All right, white ladies. Pat yourselves on
And
the back.
for some reason, I don't know that I would have trusted a Latina
Well, no,
therapist.
I know what's interesting.
Because I'm like, all the Latinas I know freaking run their mouths, man. Nobody can keep their mouth shut. They all
lose
freaking
their
talk.
licenses.
They don't know how to keep a secret. You're like, really? You had to put that out there? Okay, I get it. But she seemed really, really cool. And 2 years. Every single Monday, I was at the therapist. As a matter of fact, still on my calendar, it still says therapy.
Yeah, that's funny.
Monday nights. I never had the thing taken off. But 2 years therapy, 2 years no drinking, and I'm a better person for it because I feel like I learned to listen. I learned to just reflect. I learned to ask myself questions. I learned to accept responsibility.
Yeah.
Because, man, when you're in this roller coaster ride where everything you do is magic, every single week, you're in front of thousands of people, and all people tell you is how good you make them feel, how much you make them smile, how amazing it is that you're there. You're walking out to cheers. People are still waving at you when you're walking away. I can't wait to see you again.
Yeah.
Can I hug you? Can I touch? Dude, like you're getting all of this, and you do get to a place where you're like, well, if people can't get on board with this, because clearly I'm doing something right, you can't argue with the masses. So to be able to step away from that was huge. It was hard because I was consumed.
Well, it's also easier.
Yes, it is much easier.
You're very good at comedy. You're fine at relationships at best.
Yeah.
And most people are fine at it.
Uh-huh.
But like when you're very good at something, it's like, I got to go do this thing I'm not good at.
Yeah.
And they have expectations that I can't satisfy by just doing an impression.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work. And I would tell my therapist too, I go, how come you never laugh? I go, I say some pretty funny shit in here. She goes, I can't laugh. I'm a professional. I said, me too, bitch. I do this for a living. One chuckle would kill you?
Yep.
And she's like, really? A chuckle?
I've gotten mad at therapists for not watching my Netflixes.
Yeah,
I
and
was
that's another
like,
thing too. She refused. I go, have you watched any of my stuff? So maybe you could understand some of the things, ideas,
how
and
hard
things
I
I'm coming
crush.
from. Nice, right? How hard I crush it. And she goes, no, because I don't want to. I don't want to get to know the comedian. I need to get to know the person. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. But you know what? I talk about myself, so maybe that would. She goes, no, you could talk about yourself here. I'm like,
Stupid idiots.
so
Okay.
so I feel like 2 years of therapy and 2 years of not drinking, because when I would drink, I would use the drinking for dealing. Instead of me getting emotional about something and being productive with the feelings, I would just drink and let me go to bed.
Oh, you just stew and then go to sleep?
Yeah. Or damage. You get on your phone, you get
Got
drunk, and you know what I think? And then you
Yeah.
look at the next thing, you're like, oh God.
Yeah.
Not only is it worse now, there's oh man. Yeah.
Were they things that you thought? Was it drunk you?
Drunk
like
me
saying shit that's not even really true, or was it true and it was just sharper
I think
than
that
normal?
I think that there's always at least half of it is definitely true. There's definitely some random shit that I put out. Oh, where did that come from? Who had my phone? You're looking at your phone. You're like, that's not me. But yeah, the core stuff, you could tell that there was stuff that was stewing, and a lot of things that maybe I didn't feel comfortable talking about. Again, remember, I'll always start off subtle and give clues, and eventually I have to, hit hard. And usually that was happening when I was drinking.
You took 2 years off. When did you feel like I can go back to drinking?
I stopped the therapy and I started drinking again once I was able to go to sleep without crying. Once I was able to, no, seriously,
That's
because
hilarious.
that
That's
breakup messed me up, man. I was like, oh, and it's always like you always see all the things once you don't have them anymore. And so I didn't, that time after the breakup, I didn't want to be more of a problem, and I knew I was going to be more of a problem if I drank, because then if I drank, then I'd wind up grabbing my phone. I'd either make a call or send a text that would make things even worse.
Yeah.
So I says, let me deal with this completely sober and actually make an effort to correct, things in my life. And so that's why it's like, all right, let me move the alcohol, let me move the therapy, because dude, it was rough. I'm like, I pulled a plug on my tour for a while because I couldn't function. How am I going to go on stage and make people
dude.
laugh when I'm sobbing backstage? This is where she would stand.
And it was that.
It was pathetic.
Hacky in terms of like,
It was-
this is her. She liked grape juice.
It was pathetic. It was
And it was
pathetic.
if we can just, earlier we were talking about the relationship. It was the thing that you tried and you just couldn't
Yeah.
make it right.
No.
Was it mostly your fault?
Yes. Not all of it. But
Sure,
mostly.
but enough. Yeah, like,
In the beginning, I made it was all my fault. It was
Yeah.
100% me.
Yeah.
And
then her faults were reaction.
Therapy helped me realize, it was kind of more like 70-30.
Yeah, mom isn't always right.
Yeah.
So therapy and not drinking, and then you knew you could drink when you didn't.
Well, yeah, when I didn't
yourself
cry
sick.
anymore and I
It's
was
so
good and I
funny.
felt like, you know what, I'm okay. Because then I had to get used to the idea of living alone, not living with someone.
Yeah.
Being alone, not being with someone. Living in a different place, not going home. So all those things that I needed to get used to.
Okay, this is another question that I ask, which is, what is the upside of all the downside?
What is the upside to all the downside is I have a better understanding, so that whenever I talk to people who've dealt with certain situations, similar situations, I have, I'm more understanding and empathetic and sympathetic to,
Yeah.
moments, and it's not just like a whatever. And if I can lend my experience of pain, help someone, I'm happy to do it. And I think that, they always say when you get older, you get wiser, and hopefully you get wiser if you learn from the past. And I think that moving forward, I would definitely take everything that happened in my life and apply it to whatever it is that comes down the line as far as an opportunity, whether it's in relationships or career. How would I approach it differently? Because now it's like, okay, you saw what you went through. What do you got to do to not make that mistake again?
Yeah, there's a thing, because, so much of the world now is like about focusing on your problems and your trauma and all that stuff. There's a thing called.
So that's why the change, So
Yeah.
I do believe people can change, but it has to be something that you want to do.
Or it has to be just like obvious, like, oh, I fucked that up.
I should
A thing that
probably
I
not
really
do that
loved.
again. And
Yeah. There's a thing called post-traumatic growth that no one ever mentions. And it's like, no, you can go through a horrible experience and be like, oh, I'm okay. I'm better. I'm not just going to feel sorry for myself. or beat yourself up all the time. You can be like, okay, let me just grow and evolve as a person instead of just focusing on that last thing. And what is your goal? You're kind of running out of them. What is your goal for yourself? Not professional. It can be professional, but what do you think your ideal state is, and are you close to it?
The only goal I have now is to just stay alive. So probably, focus on fixing the health. Not just putting Band-Aids. Actually, like
yeah, but it's got an app and stuff. It's pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
It's really fucking cool.
It really is. But yeah, man, I don't. I'd hate to. I hate to check out before I have to.
Is it for you or for other people?
For me.
Yeah, like you just want to do.
For me.
You want to buy more cars. And
nice. Yeah.
do more stadiums.
I want to do more shit.
Yeah, more walkie-talkies. The whole thing. That's
because any goal that I've set for myself as far as career goes, I've definitely I've done it, which is why I said I jumped like, what am I supposed to do now? But the only thing that I've never been able to really, aside from the relationship parts, which I'm working on, is the health part. I watch a lot of the TikTok videos and everybody's talking about, oh, your health and fitness and this is what you got to do, and and it's always coming from a person who doesn't know what it's like to be overweight. Yeah. It's always somebody they don't even know what a stretch mark is. They like, oh, these fat people, and I can't stand it. They're so stupid.
So you've seen my TikTok.
Yeah, it's like, all right, it's been a struggle. That's been the hardest struggle. Comedy's easy. Losing weight's hard.
Segura, I'll send you a clip of Segura talking about it on here. Because it was like, it's way, and by the way, more guys have body dysmorphia than people think. Like, I have 5 people on here, comics that we know. Like, and like the kind of the humiliation of being fat and all that stuff, and like stuck in a habit, and you can't get and you want, when do I start? And that shit of sugar.
Whatever weight I need to be at and I'm not trying to be like fitness. I'm just whatever it takes to be non-diabetic, not have issues with my cholesterol, get off blood pressure medication. I just want to be able to wake up and the only thing I got to worry about is a baby aspirin and maybe freaking fish oil.
I feel like you could do that in 9 months. I really do. Like so you're type 2.
Type 2 diabetic.
That's easy. It's just like anything. How bad do you want it? You can do anything. I don't say that as like, ladies and gentlemen, with my system. I just mean I know, like, you can
for $45.95 right now.
Yeah. Right.
We're going to send you.
Yeah. Let's go over to Gabe. He's got some really hot updates. No, but for real, like, you could, dude, you did Dodger Stadium. You could go from type 2 to not. It's just a matter of like what, it's a few, just to adjust some of the knobs. Yeah, I know you can do it. Like, now I'm like, what? Now I'm like invested. I'm going to text you. Send me your glucose. I want your password for the glucose app. Dude, it was so great talking to you. Because we didn't know each other very well at all. I met you like in
passing at the Comedy Magic Mania. Yeah.
And then we texted when Blocks came up. But dude, so great talking to you. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that people saw a different side of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's shake hands.
Hey, there you go, over the top. Thank you, Joe.